Reform UK has been making headlines with their persistent criticism of illegal immigration in Britain. Recently, Richard Tice from Reform UK delivered some shocking revelations about the true scale of illegal migration during a Westminster Hall discussion that has sent ripples through the political establishment. Tice exposed a massive underground economy that most people are completely unaware of. He revealed that between 40 to 50% of all fast food deliveries in the UK are now being carried out by people working through illegal sub-accounts. These workers rent accounts from legitimate delivery drivers, paying around £50 to £60 per week for access to platforms they find advertised on Facebook.
There is a degree of illegal working going on in this country, which is completely off the scale, often unreported on. And it is, for example, in the fast food delivery companies, give or take 40 to 50% of all fast food deliveries are now being carried out by people who are on sub-accounts that they rent from the original account holder with these delivery companies. And they pay 50, 60 quid a week. They get it from Facebook. And why would you pay someone else for a sub-account if you can have the original account for free? There can only be one reason, and that is because you are working illegally. And if any of you enjoy the pleasures of fast food deliveries to your home, I would just say to anybody, look at the person delivering it compared to the person who was supposed to deliver it. And you will very, very often see that it's not the same person. So there is a scale of illegal working, which has the sad effect, and I've seen it and spoken to people in certain towns, of suppressing wages of genuine British workers who want to earn a good living and were earning a good living by fast food delivery, bikes or e-bikes or whatever. And so again, there is a serious lack of fairness, which is completely unjust. And there is another level of illegal migration, which I think needs touching on, Madam Chair, if you will bear with, because there is a strange thing that's going on now, and it's happening in my constituency of Boston, Skegness, and elsewhere, of illegal, legal migration. So where you've got people who are coming here on a visitor visa, and this is a whole racket that's going on, and it's massive business. And then when they arrive here, they go to a high street shop, which they do in Boston, and they get told how to fiddle the figures and the numbers and the form to show that actually they were here pre-2020 and therefore they can subscribe under the EU settlement scheme, even though they've never been here before. And so that then gives them a national insurance number for overseas, and that then entitles them to work, and then soon after that entitles them to claim benefits. And you end up with another level of illegality that is much, much greater than anybody dares talk about up and down the country. And it is incumbent upon this government, and I would hope everybody would agree, once again, competence in enforcement will stop this level of abuse, because it is suppressing the wages of British people, and it is adding huge pressure on housing demand when housing is at a critical shortage. I welcome the new Madam Chair. It's lovely to see you. And so we have to get on top of the illegality, whilst recognising, I believe, that legal migration, done well, is a very smart thing to do. Done badly, as it has been in recent years, has, I think, led to the massive challenges and concerns that I think many, many millions of people, tens of millions of people across the UK have. So, in summary, Madam Chair, I think it's about doing things well. It's about stopping illegal migration by doing the job properly so that we stop it. And it's about being smart about how we motivate our existing population, getting people skilled up and back into work so that actually we don't need to rely on large amounts of inward migration when we're paying huge amounts for people to stay at home. That cannot be smart, good government. And I think any government, if they do that well, they will have the gratitude of the British people. And I think the British people just want someone to do this job properly. Thank you.
This revelation hits close to home for millions of Britons who regularly use food delivery services. Tice challenged viewers to look carefully at the person delivering their food compared to the photo on the app. More often than not, they are completely different people. This massive fraud is happening right under our noses, facilitated by the very platforms we use daily. The impact of this illegal working extends far beyond simple rule-breaking. Tice explained how this underground economy is systematically suppressing wages for genuine British workers who previously earned decent livings through legitimate delivery work. Young people who once could support themselves through bike deliveries are now being undercut by workers operating outside the legal framework. But the illegal migration problem runs even deeper than fraudulent delivery accounts. Tice revealed another sophisticated scam targeting the EU settlement scheme. People are arriving in the UK on visitor visas as part of what he described as a massive business racket. Upon arrival, they visit specific high street shops where they receive detailed instructions on how to manipulate forms and documentation. These shops teach visitors how to falsify their arrival dates, making it appear they were in the UK before 2020. This fraudulent paperwork then allows them to apply under the EU settlement scheme despite never having lived in Britain previously. Once successful, they receive national insurance numbers for overseas workers, which opens the door to both employment and benefits claims. The scale of this fraud is staggering, yet Tice argues it remains largely undiscussed in mainstream political circles. This systematic abuse is adding enormous pressure to an already critical housing shortage, while simultaneously suppressing wages for British workers who are competing in an increasingly unfair job market. If you are finding these revelations as shocking as I am, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because we are going to continue exposing the truth about what is really happening in our country. Tice emphasized that proper enforcement and government competence could stop this abuse immediately. He stressed that legal migration, when done properly, can be beneficial for the country. However, the current system has been so badly managed that it has created the massive challenges and concerns that tens of millions of people across the UK are now experiencing. The solution, according to Tice, involves three key elements: stopping illegal migration through proper enforcement, getting existing populations skilled up and back into work, and reducing reliance on large amounts of inward migration while paying huge amounts for people to stay at home unemployed. While Reform UK was exposing immigration fraud, another political drama was unfolding that would shake the very foundations of the Labour government. Just days after boldly championing sweeping welfare cuts, Prime Minister Keir Starmer found himself in the fight of his political life. Over 120 MPs within his own party had pushed him to the brink of losing control, forcing him to completely abandon his highly controversial welfare reform plan. This dramatic internal rebellion represented one of the most serious challenges to Starmer's leadership since becoming Prime Minister. The crisis centered around Starmer's proposal to slash £5 billion from the UK's welfare budget. His plan targeted personal independence payments and tightened eligibility for universal credit, potentially affecting up to 800,000 people, most of whom are living with disabilities or serious illnesses. Initially, Starmer dismissed the 120 dissenting Labour MPs as mere noise. But as tensions in Parliament reached boiling point, his dismissive stance became politically untenable. By Friday morning, Downing Street found itself in a precarious position, with government spokespersons scrambling to announce that the Prime Minister had accepted three major concessions to avert a political mutiny. This was not a routine political disagreement. The scale of the rebellion represented the kind of crisis that typically sparks leadership challenges. The backlash from within Starmer's own party was swift and devastating. Vicky Foxcroft, a serving government minister, resigned in protest while 126 backbench MPs co-signed an amendment aimed at blocking the proposed reforms. Leading the charge was Dame Meg Hillier, chair of the Treasury Select Committee, whose relentless pressure ultimately forced Starmer into retreat. The government's response came in the form of a carefully crafted letter from Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall. She assured Labour MPs that all current recipients of personal independence payments would see no changes to their support. However, those applying after November 2026 would face stricter criteria, though transitional protections would be implemented. Additionally, The government pledged a full review of the assessment process to be conducted in collaboration with disabled people and advocacy groups. It was a calculated message designed to ease party tensions without appearing to be a complete capitulation. The response from Labour MPs was mixed. Hillier described it as a reasonable concession, praising Labour for listening to its MPs and constituents. However, veteran left-wing MP Clive Lewis dismissed the deal as a face-saving maneuver, criticizing the lack of proper impact assessments and meaningful involvement of disabled people from the outset. Richard Bergen, a staunch socialist and former ally of Jeremy Corbyn, argued that the plan would still drive hundreds of thousands into poverty. In his words, trimming back a cruel and unjust policy is not reform, it is betrayal. The Conservatives, still reeling from their electoral defeat, seized the opportunity to attack Starmer as weak and directionless. Tory Chancellor Mel Stride condemned the U-turn as yet another entry in Starmer's growing list of policy flip-flops, accusing him of abandoning fiscal discipline to placate internal party dissent. Conservative MP Helen Whately was even more scathing, calling it a shameful retreat that had turned a bad plan into a virtually meaningless proposal. She argued that Starmer's revised approach risked creating a two-tier welfare system that encourages dependency rather than work. The political damage may already be irreversible. Starmer's critics, both within and outside the party, now feel emboldened. They see a leader who talks tough on reform but folds at the first sign of resistance. This perception is particularly dangerous for a prime minister still in his first year in office. This latest reversal adds to a growing list of recent U-turns, from winter heating support to university tuition fees and his shifting stance on Israel-Palestine. Each reversal chips away at the perception of resolute leadership and hands more bargaining power to various factions within the Labour Party. Before we wrap up, I want to hear your thoughts on both of these developing stories. Are you surprised by the scale of illegal working in the delivery industry? Do you think Starmer's welfare U-turn shows weakness or pragmatic leadership? Let me know in the comments below. The welfare debate is far from over, and the final legislation will face intense scrutiny. As political temperatures continue to rise, one critical question emerges. If this is how Starmer handles internal pressure, what happens when a real crisis hits? For now, Starmer has averted a major rebellion, but he has also exposed the fragility of unity within his party. He is not just battling the Conservatives, he is grappling with a deeply divided Labour Party still haunted by ideological fractures that may prove impossible to heal.